You walk into a crowded mall. Within minutes, something shifts. Your chest tightens. Your breathing gets shallow. The noise becomes unbearable. Every conversation, every footstep, every fluorescent light feels like it's pressing against your skull. And this weird, heavy exhaustion just crashes over you. You look around. Everyone else seems fine. They're shopping, laughing, living their lives. But you're fighting the urge to run. And you can't help but wonder, what's wrong with me? Here's the truth, nothing is wrong with you. What you're experiencing isn't weakness. It's not social anxiety. It's something deeper. And today, we're gonna break down exactly what's happening in your brain when crowds feel like absolute chaos. Welcome to Truth Inside Us. I'm here to explain the psychology behind experiences that make you feel different, strange, or broken. And if you've ever felt completely drained by crowds while everyone around you seems energized, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Let me paint the picture. Maybe it's a train station during rush hour. Maybe it's Target on a Sunday afternoon. Maybe it's a concert you thought you'd enjoy. Doesn't matter the place, the feeling is the same. You walk in, and immediately your system goes on high alert. Too many people. Too much noise. Too many stimuli competing for your attention. And within minutes, you're not just uncomfortable, you're genuinely exhausted. Like someone pulled your plug. This isn't about being shy. This isn't about hating people. This is about something much more fundamental happening in your nervous system. And once you understand it, everything makes sense. Here's what most people don't understand about your brain: you process reality in high definition. While other people are getting the standard resolution version of the world, your brain is picking up 4K, surround sound, full sensory detail. Psychologists call this sensory processing sensitivity. But let's break down what that actually means. When you walk into a crowded space, your brain doesn't just register, there are people here. It registers everything. The hum of the fluorescent lights. The specific tone of that child crying 3 aisles over. The smell of someone's cologne mixing with food court grease. The way that person's face twitched when they checked their phone. The energy, the mood, the tension in the air. Your brain is like a high-resolution camera that can't turn off its zoom function. It captures every detail, processes every stimulus, analyzes every input. And in a crowd? That's not just dozens of inputs, that's hundreds. Thousands. Think about it like this: imagine your brain is a computer. Most people's brains can run maybe 10 programs at once before they slow down. Your brain. It's trying to run 500 programs simultaneously. Every person is a program. Every sound is a program. Every visual detail is a program. And here's the kicker: you can't turn it off. You can't just stop noticing things. Your brain is wired to process at this level. It's not a choice. It's how you're built. But why? Why are some brains wired like this? Let's go back. Way back. To when humans lived in small tribes of maybe 50 to 150 people. Your survival depended on reading your environment accurately. Noticing the subtle shift in someone's behavior. Hearing the snap of a branch that meant danger. Sensing when something was off. The people with high sensitivity nervous systems. They were the early warning systems for the tribe. They picked up on threats before anyone else did. They noticed changes in weather, in animal behavior, in social dynamics. This trait kept communities alive. Fast forward to now. You're not in a tribe of 50 anymore. You're in a mall with 5,000 strangers. But your nervous system? It still thinks you need to monitor everyone. It's still trying to assess every person as potential friend or threat. It's still scanning for danger, for social cues, for anything that feels off. Except now, instead of protecting you from a predator, your nervous system is trying to process the lady arguing on her phone, the teenager bumping into you, the crying baby, the flickering light, the person walking too close, the store alarm going off, the perfume counter assault on your nose. Your ancient alarm system is firing on all cylinders in an environment it was never designed for. And that's why crowds don't just feel uncomfortable, they feel dangerous. Your nervous system is in survival mode, even though logically, you know you're safe. This is why you feel that instant heaviness. That exhaustion. Your body is literally preparing for threat response, flooding your system with stress hormones, burning through energy reserves, keeping you in a state of hypervigilance. Not because you're anxious. Because you're wired to notice everything, and there's way too much to notice. Now let's talk about something that most people never think about. Personal space isn't just about comfort. It's about identity. Every human has an invisible boundary around their body, psychologists call it peripersonal space. It's typically about 1.5 to 4 feet in all directions. This is your space. The space where you exist as an individual, separate from everyone else. In crowds, that space collapses. Completely. People brush against you. Breathe near you. Invade your bubble without even realizing it. And here's what happens in your brain when that boundary gets violated repeatedly: you start to lose your sense of where you end and other people begin. For reflective, thoughtful minds, the kind of minds that need quiet to hear themselves think, this is devastating. Because you don't just process other people's presence. You absorb it. You pick up on emotions. Energy. Moods. It's like your brain has no filter between my feelings and their feelings. So when you're surrounded by rushed, stressed, irritated people in a crowd, you don't just observe that stress, you feel it. In your own body. Like it's yours. This isn't empathy in the casual sense. This is your nervous system literally mirroring the nervous systems around you. Scientists call it emotional contagion. But it feels like drowning in other people's chaos while losing track of your own existence. Here's the part that people really don't get: for you, mental space is as real as physical space. Maybe more real. Your inner world, your thoughts, your reflections, your sense of self, it needs room to exist. It needs silence. It needs stillness. Not as a luxury. As a necessity. When you're alone, or with one or two people you trust, your mind can stretch out. It can think deeply. Process experiences. Connect ideas. Reflect on emotions. This is when you feel most like yourself. Most alive. Most clear. But in a crowd, that inner space gets crushed. The noise isn't just external, it invades your internal world. Your thoughts get interrupted by conversations you can't tune out. Your reflection gets shattered by constant stimuli demanding attention. Your sense of self, that quiet, steady awareness of who you are, it just disappears under the weight of everyone else's presence. And this is why you feel that strange heaviness. That instant exhaustion. Because you're not just managing external chaos. You're trying to maintain your internal world while it's being bombarded from all sides. It's like trying to have a quiet conversation with yourself in the middle of a rock concert. The noise doesn't just make it hard to hear, it makes you forget what you were trying to say. For some people, the external world is where they feel most alive. Crowds energize them. Noise excites them. They get their sense of self from interaction, from stimulation, from being around people. But for you, your sense of self comes from within. From quiet reflection. From internal processing. From that space between you and the world where you can actually hear your own thoughts. Crowds don't just take away your comfort. They take away your ability to be yourself. And that's not a small thing. That's everything. Here's the cruel irony: you can feel most alone when you're surrounded by people. You're in a packed subway. Shoulder to shoulder with strangers. And you've never felt more isolated in your life. Why? Because proximity isn't connection. Bodies in space aren't relationships. And for a mind like yours, one that craves depth, meaning, authentic interaction, shallow proximity feels worse than being alone. When you're physically alone, your aloneness makes sense. You're by yourself, so of course you feel solitary. There's no conflict there. But when you're surrounded by hundreds of people and you still feel completely alone, that's confusing. That's painful. That hurts in a way that's hard to explain. Because what you're experiencing is existential isolation, the feeling of being fundamentally separate from everyone around you. You're in the same physical space, but you're not sharing the same experience. They seem comfortable. You're drowning. They seem energized. You're depleted. They seem connected. You feel invisible. And your brain starts asking dangerous questions. Why am I different? Why can't I just enjoy this like everyone else? What's wrong with me? But here's the truth, nothing is wrong with you. You're just wired for depth, not breadth. You're built for meaningful connection with a few people, not surface-level interaction with many. And crowds offer the opposite of what your soul needs. Now let's flip the script. Because everything I've just described, it's not a weakness. It's a different kind of strength. Your high-resolution mind that gets overwhelmed in crowds. That same mind picks up on subtleties that others miss. You notice when someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes. You sense the mood in a room before anyone speaks. You process art, music, nature, ideas with a depth that shallow processing can't touch. Your need for mental space. That's what allows you to think deeply, create meaningfully, and connect authentically. The world's greatest thinkers, artists, writers, most of them needed solitude. Not because they hated people, but because depth requires space. Your sensitivity to crowds. That's the same sensitivity that makes you a good friend, a thoughtful partner, a person who actually listens. You can't turn off the sensitivity in crowds without losing it everywhere else. And your discomfort with shallow proximity? That's because you value real connection. You'd rather have one genuine conversation than 100 superficial interactions. You'd rather know 3 people deeply than know 100 people casually. The world tells you to toughen up. To handle crowds better. To be more social, more outgoing, more comfortable with chaos. But what if you don't need to change? What if you just need to understand yourself and honor how you're built? What if your need for quiet isn't antisocial, it's self-preservation? What if your exhaustion in crowds isn't weakness, it's your system doing exactly what it's designed to do? What if your depth isn't a flaw, it's your gift? So how do you live in a world built for crowds when you're wired for quiet? First, stop apologizing for how you're built. Your need for space isn't a social failing. It's a biological reality. You don't apologize for needing food or sleep, don't apologize for needing mental quiet. Second, plan for your nervous system, not against it. If you need to go to a crowded place, go during off-peak hours. Wear headphones. Give yourself an exit strategy. Take breaks. Step outside. Find the quiet corner. These aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of self-awareness. Third, recognize the difference between isolation and solitude. Isolation is lonely and painful. Solitude is restorative and necessary. You're not isolating when you skip the loud party, you're choosing solitude. And that's healthy. Fourth, find your people. Not crowds of people, your people. The ones who get that you'd rather have coffee one-on-one than meet up with a group. The ones who understand when you say, I need to recharge. The ones who don't make you feel broken for being different. And fifth, trust that your experience is valid. You're not imagining the exhaustion. You're not being dramatic. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it's wired to do, it's just doing it in an environment that overwhelms it. That's not your fault. That's not a flaw. That's just the reality of having a high-resolution mind in a high-stimulus world. If you've watched this whole video, chances are you've spent years wondering what's wrong with you. Why you can't handle what everyone else handles easily. Why crowds drain you when they energize others. Why you need so much quiet when the world demands constant noise. Here's what I need you to hear: you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not antisocial or anxious or flawed. You're a person with a high-resolution nervous system trying to survive in a low-resolution world. You're wired for depth in a culture that values breadth. You need silence to hear yourself in a society that won't stop talking. And that's okay. More than okay. That's valuable. Your mind needs space. Not because something's wrong with it. Because that's how it works best. And the world needs minds like yours, minds that think deeply, feel intensely, notice what others miss. So next time you walk into a crowd and feel that heaviness, that exhaustion, that overwhelming urge to leave, remember this: your nervous system isn't failing you. It's protecting you. It's telling you the truth about what you need. And what you need is real. Valid. Worth honoring. The world's noise is too loud for you. Good. Maybe the world needs to be quieter. Maybe you're not the problem.